Hi all, good morning, good evening. Sorry, there was little confusion with the session. Was it scheduled or not? We are sorry for that. So you able to see the screen as well as able to hear me? Good? Okay. So just wanted to understand how many of you have joined newly after the last session? Okay, the question is for how many of you this is the first session, first demo session? Okay, Srinivas. Oh, okay. Hmm. So I see a handful of them who have recently joined, and rest of all them are okay. So somewhere around 10 members are new joiners to this session. Okay, for others, just wait for a while. I mean, please bear with these 5 minutes, next 5 minutes before I try to understand the audience. Okay. So for those who have joined for the first time, just let me know if you are. Just let us know. Others, can you go on mute, please? Okay. Just let us know if you are already aware of SQL. This is to those who have joined now. For those who this is the first day. Okay. Okay. I saw around 10 people who joined now, but I got answers for 5 6 people now. Okay. Okay. So I see that the basics of SQL you just have an understanding, but not completely. Only few of them are well aware of SQL. So I'll ask a straight question. Next straight question. So are you having working experience using SQL? Good. So I see none of you except one have an experience on SQL. Okay. Now, so before we go ahead with what this training is all about, I just want to understand what are the problems or limitations you found by using SQL. And okay, I'll just find it. I'll just stop it there. So what are the limitations or problems that you found with SQL which can be resolved using the advanced version? That's the PL SQL. Just list out the limitations that you saw with SQL. Okay. Writing complex query. Good. Okay. You used only for pulling the data. Okay. The joins. Okay. Okay. So it's only writing a complex query that is worrying about the SQL. Okay. So I would like to break it a bit more. Okay. So let's see. I have table A with columns A, B, and C, whereas I have table B which has columns B, E, and C. Table C has C, A, D, F, G, H. Okay, so these are the three tables and I have these columns in it. Now I want to see the count and some count of column F and the name D and difference between B tables F and C tables F, and last one is, and last column is, I want to see column C in the output. Now I am not asking you to write the SQL query, but I am just trying to find whether this can be achieved using the normal SQL. I just want to understand the audience. You got my point, right? So I just want to understand. Okay. So the question again is, I have this table A with columns A, B, C, table B with B, E, F, and C, and table C with C, A, D, F, G, and H. My output that I'm expecting is I want to see the count of F, the column F of table B, and name of the column, and the values that are present in column D, which is in table C, and the difference between values of F in B table and the values of F in C table. So do you think we can fetch the data and writing a simple SQL? If yes, how? I'm not asking you to give me the SQL query. I'm just asking you to tell me what are the conditions or what are the functions that you will be using. Okay, you will use the count of F. Okay. You will be using joins. Good. Good enough. Good. You will be using the arithmetic operations. Difference. Okay. Good. No, we will not be using minus. Wrong. Excellent. So I got one correct answer. Okay, Joe didn't get the question. Okay, so for one final time, I'm repeating the question again. So I have three tables A, B, C. A table has columns A, B, and C. B table has B, E, F, and C. And table C has C, A, D, F, G, and H. Now I want an SQL. I'm not asking you to write SQL, but I want the output as the count of values in F of table B and the name D from table C and the difference between F in table B and C in table C. Okay, so I just want to understand, can we get the query written using the basic SQL? If so, what are the functions that we'll be using? Yes, all the information as one shot in using a single SQL query. Oh, okay. So I see only one correct answer, rest all wrong. So what we'll use is we'll use count of this comma name, count of the column B of F, and we'll be using difference arithmetic function from for getting the difference. Then we will join. Instead of using join, we can use where condition, where table A dot B is equal to table B dot B, and we'll join C with table C, and then we'll group by all the columns that we are using, B, D, and F. Okay, so what we are doing, we are using group by function as well because we are differentiating it and counting as well, right? So this is how the basic SQL is written. But what if I have a bit complex to this, where it says that I want to get the output shown in the SQL query itself. A pop-up should come up and should be shown. Or say suppose I haven't defined the primary key for table C, okay, and I don't know what is it. So on the fly, if I have to define I have to alter that table C, uh, column C has to be defined as primary key on the fly. So these type of facilities, my simple SQL query will not help out, right? Or say there are instances where I have to run a query when I see some value. Say suppose I see a difference of 25 with these two values, then it should be stored in a new table, say table D. So can you do this using SQL? Yes, of course. You can do it using SQL. Here what you're doing, you're writing an insert query. But my expectation is I have to find this and then parallelly insert into the table D. So what I'll do is I'll package the first query, the query 1 and query 2 in a logical value. So for this, okay, let me do this. Query 1. So for this, and I'm writing query 2. So what I'll do is I'll logically link both these queries and package them. So this in simple term we call it as packages in database concepts. Okay. Arum Khan, I think it's the same problem with all. Are you others not able to hear me? Others are able to hear. Arum, can you check at your end again, please? Okay. I think you will have to dial in using again. Okay. Coming back. Let me know if you still face a problem, Arum. Okay. Now coming back. So there are multiple situations in a project or in a what do you say, when you talk about any of the project, right? You cannot have a simple SQL query that will cater all the problems. Okay, you might have to join it with, you might have to club it with a lot of SQLs and do it as a package, or you might have to write functions which will support your requirements on need. Okay, or you might have to generate the sequences once the count the limitation that we gave it on the primary key is completed. Or say suppose I have to run an SQL based on a condition. If this condition is met, so I'll have to run this SQL. Or if I have seen this value in the table, then I'll have to do some operation. So this we call it as triggers and store procedures. Okay, so triggers will define the condition, and once the condition is met, you will have to run some procedure. So these kind of activities, have you seen I mean, this question is to those who have already worked on SQL. So have you seen any of the requirement like this in your projects? The question is, have you heard about the concepts of triggers, stored procedures, sequence generator, functions, packages? Okay, I see only one yes. Rest all? Mm-hmm. No. Okay, good. So I see triggers and notices. Okay, okay, good. So I see 90% of you haven't worked on, I mean, have you not, are not aware of these concepts. So PLSQL in simple terms is a combination of all these. Okay, so as simple as that. Okay, I haven't discussed about the conditional statements. Okay, so conditional statements, if you write SQL using these conditional statements, then that is part of PLSQL. Okay, so as part of this training, we will be covering the basics of SQL right from, because we see that 75% of the audience are not well versed with SQL as well. So what we wanted, as per the audience agreement, what we'll be doing is, so as per the request from the students, what we have done is we have changed a bit of the course content. So first 4 days we will be covering basics of SQL. Okay, right from data definition language, then data manipulation language, and DCL. Okay, so we will discuss about these concepts, and then we'll start with joins, and then case statements, and basic conversion functions like date conversion, char function changes. The conversion functions we'll discuss, and then we will move into PLSQL basics. So what we will be covering here is the functions, procedures, triggers, and then the conditional statements. Okay, on a high level we'll be covering them. So the rest of all concepts are will be covered here and there when we see the dependencies, there we'll be covering. So, okay, so group by and where statements will be covered in the first 4 days of basic training. Okay, All right. So this is what you can expect from this training, and what we will do is we will at the end of session, maybe last 2 days, we will take a requirement and try and will develop the complete script, the procedures that we have to write, what are the functions, how do you generate the generate sequences, okay, how do you have to, what could be the triggers, okay, how do you write your conditional statements, if else statements, okay. So these will be covered during this last 2 days. So we'll take a requirement and we'll cover that, okay. So this is for those who have joined the first time after the last session, okay. So I'm open to questions for the next 10 minutes and then we'll continue with the training, okay. So I'm done. If you have any questions, you can post them here. Okay, Dipti, yes, did we had this session earlier as well? We had a demo session, Dipti, already. So we covered about what we are doing as part of this live training, as part of this PL SQL training, okay. This session is more about PL SQL. But what the audience we saw is 75% them are new to SQL itself. So what we thought is will club both SQL and PLSQL and let the audience know. When will the actual classes start? Actual classes start from 22nd May. This would be 7 days of training. As as part of IT Learn, it is already it's a common practice that you just don't confine to the number of tests. Okay, it's more of the audience comfort. So if you are not comfort with the topics, we will repeat them. So we can extend it, but the plan is for 7 days. Are we going to work on real examples like real data? No, Aram, we didn't plan that way, but we'll create data and then we'll work on it. It's not real data. Actually, the plan is after this live training, if the audience or if the students are expecting a live project, then we'll start with live project as well. Okay, we'll have to see the number of people who are ready to join the live project. Adhikari, you have a question? Yeah, you can post. You want to speak up? You want me to unmute? Okay.
Hi, Mahesh. Sorry, this is Ashna from IT Run team.
Yeah.
Hear me? I have actually posted a message on your chat. Go to webinar chat. Can you please check that and post it on the document that you're showing as part of the screen as you're the presenter on the go to webinar chat.
Okay. One.
The personal message. I just sent it to you. So if you can put, because it has a detailed schedule, it has the pricing link and all the questions that the team has. It probably will answer most of them.
Okay. 1 second.
Did you receive the message or you want me to resend?
I got it. I got it. 1 second.
Okay, just a copy paste of the two messages. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay. Okay. So this is the schedule. Meanwhile, okay. Let me see the hands raised. Yeah, Adhikari, I have unmuted. Go ahead. Yeah, you can speak. I can hear you.
Oh, okay. All right. I'm just asking that could you please just see us the like an example, like 2 minutes. How do we use like the PL SQL and SQL in the QA, QA situation? I mean, the usually the Oracle. I used to work as a Oracle PL SQL programmer, so what is the difference between like a developer and the QA position actually. That's all. Thank you.
Hmm. Okay. Okay. I'll cater to all this 1 second. Let others also. There are other questions as well. I'll get back to you. 2 minutes of time. Ashfaq, you also had a question.
Yes.
Yeah, Ashfaq.
I wanted to know all these notes that you are writing, will they be available or do we have to take notes?
No. These will be available. This will be shared once the session is done.
And how can we get that?
There's a link that would be shared by the team. Okay.
Okay, shall I get it in my email, that link?
Yeah, you will get this email. So this is where
Thank you
you.
so much.
Okay.
Okay.
Mm, any other? Okay. Any other questions before we continue with Adhikari's question? So Hitesh is a question. So 4 days for SQL and 3 days for SQL skill. No. So we will extend it. Don't worry about the days. Is it possible to share day one class recording? Yes, as the screen is highlighted, if you see, this is where you can see the first day of session. Okay, Joe? And what was covered as part of day one? No, nothing was covered. What was said is, what is the problem statement with SQL? What are the areas where we usually find issues? And we just described what would be taught as part of this training. Okay. Um, there's one more hand raised. Yes, Sugadan, you had a question?
No,
I see your hand raised. That's the reason.
I'm sorry.
Ashfaq, you had a question again. All right.
Will these videos be available also? Today's class?
Yeah. It would be available.
Oh, thank you.
All right. So there was a question on the basic difference between SQL and PL SQL. Okay. Now let's take a sample SQL. Say of one small requirement where I want to see okay, let me define the requirement first. Okay, so I have a table which has the number of sales that are done. Okay, it's an inventory table where I have the number of sales done. Okay, now when the quantity, okay, let me define the table itself here. Itself. Table inventory, it has ID and the name, the quantity, and then another table which has and also the procurement date. This is the table that I have. I have another table, sales. In this I have ID, the name, and the quantity, sale date. Okay. Now my what my requirement is, I want to see the number of what do you say? Okay, question from the, sorry for intervening. So what is that we are explaining? So there was a question from Adhikari that give us a sample SQL and PL SQL and show us what is the difference. Okay, so I'm just giving a sample requirement. Okay, so coming back. So I have these two tables. Now what I want is the expectation is give the quantity of items that are left in inventory. Okay. So tell me the sample the SQL query for this. Give me or just tell me how do I write the SQL query for this. Who was that? Adhikari. Okay. So you'll write a select query. Okay. Okay. I'll type it myself. Okay. So I'll get select. I want the quantity of items that are left in inventory. So how will I get? With the difference from inventory minus the sales quantity, right? So I'll give alias for this as I and alias for this as yes. Okay. Select I dot quantity minus S dot quantity from table I comma S. I'm just giving, I'm not writing, where I dot name is equal to S dot name. Group by name. Simple SQL, right? Agreed? Yeah, the difference, whatever is it. Okay. Now, this is a simple SQL query that we have written. Now, what is that? The expectation is I want if the difference is greater than 0, which means I still have those items in my inventory, right? So if this is 0, if this is greater than 0, then the items should be placed in a different table. Say suppose sales underscore balance. So this is the table where I'll have to put it. Okay. So now let me know how do you write a SQL query for this. Can we write an SQL query for this? Or if you are asked to do, how will you do? You got the point or still confusing? No, yes, I don't see any answer from you. So question again, okay. The question is I'll get the difference. If the difference is greater than 0, then those items, I mean the name should be inserted into a different table, sales balance table. Okay. So if I have to fetch this data and insert into a different table, can my SQL query do that? Yeah, it is confusing and a single SQL query will not help. So ideally, if you are asked to do so, what will you do is, you will first get the difference, okay? And if you are asked to write the flow chart or flow diagram for this or the conditional statements for this, what will you do? You will first fetch the difference and the corresponding name, and in those records you will verify if there is the difference greater than 0. Less than 0 will not be there, right? Only conditions that would be there is either 0 or greater than 0, right? So I'll see for those items which are having difference greater than 0. If the difference is greater than 0, then I'll write an insert statement where I'll insert these name and the difference into a different table, right? So what am I doing here? I'm first verifying the output, then writing my if-else statements, then inserting them into a different table. So if you write at one shot the entire query, that's your PL SQL query. So for this, what is that you will have to do? If you go back to your basics of programming, you will have to first get the difference, right? So difference, can I use the same like this? If you remember your basics, I have two columns A comma B and I want to get the difference. So what will I do? I'll declare a variable C and then I'll define C is equal to A minus B, right? The normal programming concept that we do, right? So the same logic we here also will do. What we'll do is, we'll first declare the variables, okay? Then fetch the difference using query, and then we will write the if difference is if the variable. So variable, I'll give it as diff. So if diff is greater than 0, then I'll have to do insert into sales underscore balance, else display, else nothing. What will I do? Else I'll not write insert into, right? So else I'll, or say suppose the requirement, else those items, those names should go into a different table. So zero balance, I say zero balance table. Okay. So else what should I do? Insert those records into zero underscore balance, close or end, right? This is how you will be writing your basic programming, right? And last is you will have to commit it. That's it. So this is how you're structuring your complete requirement. So this structuring is called as, if you write SQL query in this structure, then that's part of your PLSQL. This you are catering using two different SQL queries here. If you see, first you are fetching the difference using your select the difference query, and then you are inserting into the respective tables. So if I package all these at one shot in a single script, then that's your PLSQL script. Okay. Hope you got the point now, Biklam. Any other questions? Khadija, what is the difference between PL and SQL? PL is programming language. How do you structure your SQL to fetch a data of as per your requirement? That's the reason programming language SQL. So here I'm using if-else queries, which is not part of your SQL. Have you seen in SQL anywhere using if-else conditions? If-else is not part of SQL basic structure. It's an added. You're adding the programming logics there. I mean, how do you write your conditional statements? Okay. So you're coupling your programming concepts plus your SQL. That's the reason we call it as PLSQL. And this is again specific to Oracle database. Okay. Prasanna is having PLSQL when you have only just read-only access. No. PLSQL, you can use it to insert data. You can use it for reading the data. Here also you're reading the data, right? You're reading the data first and then inserting into a table. So it's not confined to only pulling the data from the database. It's both read and write as well. Okay. So what I understood from the list of questions that are posted here, we will have to discuss about the programming concepts as well. Okay. So what I understood is, so what we will do is we'll take a session out of the schedule and we'll discuss about the if-else statements, when we'll be using if-else statements, when we'll be using the while statements. Okay, what are the different case statements we got? How do you club it with if-else? Okay, so these we'll discuss basic for just 15-20 minutes, and then I'll let you know few examples where you can differentiate when to use if-else, when to use while, when to use the case statements. Okay. All right. Okay, where does procedures come into picture here? Okay. Okay, let me know what is the procedure. In fact, I mean, general English term, what is a procedure? What do you mean by procedure in plain English? What's the meaning of procedure? Yeah, good. Way of doing some activity. Excellent. Right. The step-by-step approach. Yes, right. So the same way, this is also a stored procedure here. Okay. What I'm doing is, if I'm finding a difference, I have to do these steps. I have to insert. If I see if the difference is equal to 0, then I have to do this. So what I'm doing, I'm calling a procedure here. Okay, saying that if I see these values, I'll have to do this. Or say suppose I have another requirement where it says, say suppose there are items greater than 10 in sales balance table, which means these items are not sold during, say suppose during a period of sale, say suppose that the Diwali sale or any what do you say, Black Friday sale or something like that. During that occasion, I want to see the list of items which are sold. I don't have anything in my inventory. It means zero balance table will be having items, right? So if I see more than 10 items, which means I'll have to go and procure it. So for procuring it, what do I have to do? I'll have to initiate some email, or say suppose I'll have to trigger something. So as and when I see the count in zero balance table greater than 10, then a alarm message should go, an email should go. What I'm doing, I'm first writing this query. Then after seeing the count, some value, that's my trigger. So I'm initiating one procedure where it should send out an email. So if I club all of them, that's one classic example of PLSQL. Okay, so that's where it's a simple example of telling you what a trigger and store procedure is about. I am hoping we get enough material so we don't have to take notes. Okay. My experience tells that generally I don't give the definitions and people expect that. So what we will be doing is I'll give you the definition and then the examples. So the notes that I type here would be enough for you. But we will give you again a hard document, I mean a PDF document which will have this, which will have all the definitions as well. Okay. If the others are able to hear, see if it's a problem from your end. Pranay, what is ETL? Okay. This training is for PLSQL, but for again the question is on SQL on ETL. Okay. So ETL is nothing but a concept where you migrate the data from multiple source systems into one system. Okay, one database. So if you take any bigger project, right, you will have a lot of source systems. For example, let's take Amazon itself. So Amazon has its own database, okay, but when it comes to employee management, they use a different system. Okay, so say suppose Amazon is using Teradata to maintain the sales information, but for maintaining the employee information, they don't need that powerful database. So they might be using Oracle database, and for procurement information, they will be using Siebel, or any customer entry details, they will be using Siebel database. Okay. Now, if you see a project in this Amazon project itself, what we saw Oracle database, Teradata, and Siebel. Right, three different systems are there. Now, from the management perspective, if they want to see the entire information, or they want to see, say, suppose the number of customers who are active and are buying, okay, and none of these customers should be our employees, or they want to see who are the employees who are buying in on behalf of on the name of customers and are availing discounts of employee discounts. So I don't have any system which will tell, or which will combine all these three different databases and get that details, right? So what is the solution for it? You extract all the information from all these three tables, logically group in one single location. So if you have to do this, you'll have to interact with all these three systems, do some conditions, do some filtering of data, modify it, and load into one common location. So this process is called as ETL. Extracting the data from multiple source systems, transforming or cleaning based on the requirement, and loading into it can be a warehouse or a database itself, is called as ETL. So for this, you will have to do data verification. Now when you talk about this, there is every chance that you will have to write your PLSQL query. So even in ETL projects also, you'll have to write PLSQL for data validation. Okay, hope it answered your question. All right, any other questions? Are you giving enough practice questions in SQL, PL, SQL? Because I'm having trouble in answering questions in. Excellent. Yes. So we take a practical approach every time. Um, I, from personal, my friend or Karthik, we never see letting you know the concepts will not help you. So what we'll do is at the end of each session, for each of the concept that we discuss, we'll give you some examples and you will have to write the query for it. Okay. Okay, how SQL is used in testing? As a QA, what we're doing in SQL? Excellent question. This is the basic question every tester has in mind. So now with the growing demand for multi-technology need of resource, multi-technology known resources, a database, say a web application, you are a manual tester of a web application. Now where is the data stored in that we enter or we retrieve from the web application? Where is it stored? It's stored in a database, right? Now, if you, in order to fetch the data from the database, how do I do? I have to communicate with the database in its respective language, right? And that language is SQL. Now, if you have to test what is shown in the front end and what is there in the back end, you have to compare the database output, right? So how do you get the database output? You will have to write SQL query on the database, get that output and compare it with what is present in the front end. So as a QA, you have to interact with the database. Gone are those days where you were only working on web application. But now the expectation is a tester should know about how to get the data from the database, how the data is getting inserted to the database, which I enter in the front end. So how do I write my insert queries, whether the insert queries are written correctly? How is the data read? So whether the SQL select statement is written correctly or not. So you'll have to know SQL, and that's mandatory these days. Hope it answered your question, Anita and Pranay. All right. Any other questions, please? Or okay, practical questions not only in session but need more and more practice questions. Sure, we will do that. Okay, don't worry about it. We'll get it done. Okay. So for this, right, you'll have to install the Oracle database. So how many of you have Oracle database already installed in your machines, on your laptops? Okay, you have SQL. Okay. What was that, Pranay? This is only training or you also doing marketing? What was that question? I didn't get you. Okay. So for doing the practicals, right, you will have to have a database. Okay. SQL developer is not a database, Jyoti or Joe. It's the client that is used to connect to the database. It's just a client, just like Toad or SQL Plus. SQL developer is one such client that is used to interact with the database. Okay. So what you will have to do is you will have to install the database first, and on top of it use these clients, either SQL developer or Toad. I would suggest all of you to download Oracle. Okay. Uh, Let me show you from where you can download it. It's easy. Oracle database is very easy to download and install. Go to downloads Oracle database. Accept it. You will have to create your account, and then based on the system that you're using, whether it's a Windows 64-bit or Linux system or any of this, download it. Okay, and then install. The installation is very easy. Okay, use the latest version 12.1, 12C. Okay. Sorry. Do we need a client as well? Yes, as I said, client is Oracle SQL developer. So you will have this SQL developer, download this as well. So this is used to interact to this database. SQL developer is used for interacting to this database. Okay, and the language that you are using is SQL. Simple way of telling it. Okay, download it and install, and then you can start using it for writing your SQL queries. Okay. All right, I am running out of time. If any other questions are there, just post it on sales.elearn@gmail.com or reach out to the marketing team. They will help you out with other questions. Okay. All right. Thanks everyone for joining today's session. See you back on 22nd again. Bye.